Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
In this video, we are replacing a front engine mount in a 2010 Volkswagen GTI. You will be needing to replace the engine mount bolts when doing this job. And for all your parts needs, visit 1aauto.com. This is the coolant reservoir we're going to be removing. We want to start by taking out this 10mm bolt for the washer fluid fill. 10 mil out. Now we're going to pull the washer fill out of the way. Next we're going to pull off the cap. Make sure this is cold, because otherwise you're going to have pressure and it's going to have a lot of coolant come out. We're going to pull this hose off. We're going to use some pliers, take off the clamp. We're going to use a right angle pick and get in underneath here to break the seals. Sometimes you can just twist the pipe back and forth, the hose. So if you go right around, that'll break the seal and pull right off. Next we're going to disconnect this connector. You're going to use a small flat blade screwdriver. You're going to pop it and pull it right out. We're going to pull this wiring harness out of your way. We're going to use a T25 an extension and a small ratchet. We're going to get these two fasteners back here. Make sure you want to have a drain bucket underneath, because you're going to lose a little bit of coolant. Pull this out of the way. We are going to put a hose clamp on here so that we don't lose too much coolant. But there is going to be coolant in the reservoir you're going to lose. We're going to take this clamp off. We're going to use our pliers again. Push down the hose. Be able to grab the hose and pull. Twisting. And there's our reservoir. This is what is known as the noise pipe. So we're going to start by taking this clip out up here. Just use a screwdriver. Pulls out right there. I'm going to take this Torx out. Use a T30 and a ratchet. There's a hose right here. You can pop the hose out, the retainer. I'm just going to set this on the side. Before we pull this front engine mount out, we're going to have to support the engine from the top. So we're going to pull the oil cap off. And we're going to grab underneath this shield, this cover, pull straight up. We're going to use some holders to hold the engine up here with this bracket and this bracket right here. I'm going to put the oil cap back on so we don't get any debris or bolts or anything to go down there. This is how we supported the engine on the top. Next we're going to have to pull this front motor mount out. We're going to start by taking this bracket off. We're going to use a 13mm socket and a ratchet. Next we're going to pull this bolt out with the same 13mm. And we can pull that bracket right out. Next we're going to pull this pipe out of the way. There's a little release tab right here, and this comes right out. We're going to pull this bracket out of the way. We're going to use a 10mm socket, an extension, a ratchet. Oops. Next we're going to take this 10mm nut out, and also the 10mm bolts right there. We're going to take these two top motor mount bolts out. We're going to pull this coolant hose out of our way. I'm going to use an 18mm socket on an extension with a ratchet. Just break that one free, then we'll go to the next one. Break the next one free. And while you're doing this, the motor may drop down a little bit, but that's why we have our support. That's one bolt. That's the second bolt. Now we're going to take this bolt out. We're going to use a 16mm socket and an extension and a ratchet. We're going to take this back one off too, 16mm. And we should be able to pull this motor mount out. Get it out of your way. We're going to put our motor mount in place. We have the new bolts we're going to install. We have these two are different. This one goes in the back of the mount on the body side. This one goes in the front on the body side. That stud holds a bracket. Snug all these bolts down. You want to make sure you get them all in first, and then we're going to torque them. We're going to torque these engine mount bolts. These are going to go on the engine side. The torque is 60 Newton meters, and then an additional 90 degrees. I'm going to go another 90 degrees, which is a quarter turn. That's about good. I'm going to torque the engine mount to the body bolts. These are 40 Newton meters, and then an additional 90 degrees. And 90 degrees is about a quarter turn. Now you can remove however you supported your engine. I'm going to install this bracket. It goes right here, right over that stud, back. Now we're going to have to put this nut on that stud down there. It's kind of hard to reach. We're going to use a 10mm socket and an extension, but to prevent the nut from falling out, we're going to take a little bit of grease. A little bit of grease on the nut, like so. Put the nut in the socket, and then the nut will not fall out. You can slide it down there, and then torque it down, just snug. We're going to put this other 10mm down here. We can do the same grease trick if need be. This bracket goes right on top with the bolt. And install this bracket. Goes right here. 2 bolts. Our 13mm socket, and a ratchet and extension. Tighten these down. We're going to install this noise pipe. Line it up. Press it in until it clicks. Put this hose on. This bracket broke off, so we're just gonna slide it in here, clip that in to that hose. We're gonna install the engine cover. We're gonna hook up the lower pipe for the reservoir. Push it on. Once it's on, we can pull off this clamp and get it out of our way. We're going to move this hose clamp with a pair of pliers. Just get it lined up and squeeze. Get it on there. It's best to try to get in the same grooves that it was in before, or close. This down in here. And we install this hose. With pliers, move this hose clamp. Before we install these wires around here, we're going to install our T25s. Snug it down. Remember, it's plastic, so you don't want to go too tight. We're going to install this wiring harness into these clips. We can plug in our connector. Until it clicks. We can install the washer fill to the bracket. And use a 10mm socket and ratchet. And we're going to top off our coolant. You want to make sure you use Volkswagen approved coolant. When doing this, you're going to want to make sure you run your engine for a while before you drive and recheck the level to make sure it's okay. In theory, there should not be any air in the motor, but just in case the vehicle burps and you need to add coolant, you should do so. We'll install our cap. So it clicks.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.